post-traumatic stress. Post-traumatic stress is one of the biggest reasons that people fail to establish lasting, loving relationships. You know, we can come up with the most amazing list of reasons why so-and-so was this, he did that, she did that, you know, he was like this, he was like that, he was like that, until we are able to heal the post-traumatic stress that led us to get into that relationship. And to allow that to happen, we are going to keep repeating the patterns. And you don't actually have to necessarily leave the relationship to process and to grow through what's happening. What can happen, and what if you just keep going and keep with awareness, processing what's going on for you in your relationship, and as you're moving along, then you do get to a point where you have awareness, and you are also choosing somebody with whom you can grow together with. And that's what we want, because it is never going to be perfect. You know, no relationship, if it is a healthy relationship, is going to be healthy. Post-traumatic stress and how that shows up in our present relationship, it is so insidious, folks. And I'm speaking here from my own experience, and, you know, from the relationship, you know, that my day-to-day life experience today. Issues come up. They come up for you, and they also come up for our partners and our loved ones. And it does just seem to be part of the human condition that most of us, or a lot of us, you know, have had things happen to us in our childhoods, which we then have to heal. We have to move through in our adult life in order to be able to get well and have an abundant life. And so there is a book which I actually read when about 35 years ago, when I was in the middle of my relationship training, and it was called The Courage to Heal Your Life. And it was about women who had been sexually abused. Now, I know that probably a lot of you here were not sexually abused as children, and I'm glad for that. You know, it's the book, it's worth a look at still. It's quite a moving book. The reason I'm mentioning it is because what was happening was that these women were uncovering abuse that had happened to them, sometimes when they were very young, sometimes when they were in their teens, that they couldn't consciously remember. And that's a very extreme example of what I'm talking about. My own experience is that I am constantly in my relationship, because I had a very, very challenging childhood, a very difficult childhood, you know, lots of acrimony, lots of addiction, lots of violence, domestic violence, sexual inappropriate behavior, and so on and so forth. And it's left me, you know, it left me with a huge legacy to heal, which I have healed and which I continue to heal, because I don't feel that it's ever something that you reach the point where you say, okay, that's done now, finished, I'm completely healed. Because actually at a certain point, what happens is we not only then are healing our past, we're also healing our future. It's like we are then on the path for enlightenment. We are then on the path to grow and to become, and that's a never-ending path in my view as a human being, to be able to open our hearts up to more and more love, because that's what happens as we evolve. We're able to open our hearts, but we have to do it with awareness. We have to do it with support sometimes, and we have to do it with conscious understanding of what we're doing. So finding and creating and maintaining a good relationship takes effort. It takes knowledge and experience. And if you haven't got a great track record up till now, then I can only encourage you to get as much support as you can, get the help that you need to, because, you know, when these post-traumatic stress patterns come up, it's almost impossible sometimes to tell whether they are real or whether they are a memory, you know, whether they are imaginary. And it's really scary when you begin to understand. And also, you know what, it's not even necessarily just from our own lifetime. So, for example, I've had clients whose parents were involved in the Holocaust, and the parent, particularly the mother, sometimes passes on the feeling of tension, the feeling of fear, any unresolved fear, on to the child in the womb. And that can lead to the child growing up to feel scarcity, deprivation, to experience fear, and not necessarily even know, A, that they're experiencing it, and B, that there's another way of doing it. So, you know, we can have like our whole way of being is that we are guilt driven, and we don't even know it. Certainly that was my experience. You know, I was completely flattened by my childhood, and I was at an absolute loss, and I had to completely relearn relationships, completely relearn everything. When I was in my late 20s, I wished that sex had never been invented, because I just could not get it right. I just kept on getting hurt. In fact, I wished that all relationships, I couldn't even have a relationship with a friend. I was so damaged by what had happened to me. So, you know, I'm an extreme example, and that's why I'm doing this work now, because my journey towards recovery has led me to want to support other people in finding their way too. So what can you do about it? That's the big question. What can you do to not act out these old patterns? And so that for some people, it prevents them going out and socializing. People keep themselves isolated, unable to go out and meet people because their confidence has been so knocked by these post-traumatic stress symptoms. Other people can have huge self-confidence in certain areas of their lives. Like I get lots of very successful men and women who come into my program, and yet when it comes to relationships, oh no, you know, they just, you know, they're a mess. They can't do it. And those people are quite challenging actually to heal, because of course, you know a lot, you've been around the block, you know life. You know, for older people, you know, you've already had a career, you might have already had a family, and yet, you know, there's still this huge new area that you're going to have to learn about. And you know what, it can actually be a blessing if you reframe it that you are here today, because it's like, you know, you've been kind of brought to first base here so that you need to learn. And I think that's a really great place to be. You know, the more difficult place is when people are, you know, not willing to learn. You know, you've all come here because you want to learn about how to find Mr. Right. And you probably wanted me to give you some quick tricks and flicks. I know that we're going to help you. And, you know, and the bad news is that I'm not going to do that, because that wouldn't be being sincere and being honest. Yes, of course, I do offer dating strategies. There are certain things that you can do to go out and meet somebody. You know, that's just the first part of it. It's like, you know, when you get to the fourth date, okay, that's when, the first 3 dates, jolly good fun, you know, get taken out, nice, have a nice time, or take somebody out, nice, have, you know, meet for coffees, whatever it is, then there's an attraction and everything else. And then as the relationship unfolds, issues can start to come up, and that's when it's really important to have some strategies.